I love the Power Glove. It's so bad. But can we connect it to a Nintendo Switch and control an actual Mario Kart? Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to assume that if you're watching this video, you at least know something about the Power Glove. But just to recap, this was an accessory for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It came out for the Christmas season of 1989, and you'd wear it on your wrist, and you'd attach 3 sensors to your CRT tube TV across the top and along the right side. The glove would send out sound waves from here to those sensors and receive sound waves back, and depending on how long it took from each sensor, the system could triangulate where your hand was in 3-dimensional space. Unfortunately, there were no games that came out for the launch of the Power Glove that took advantage of these features. And so kids just basically used the Power Glove to play their regular Nintendo games. And it quickly became obvious that it wasn't worth it, both with arm fatigue and just the latency that you had to deal with, because sound moves much slower than electricity on the wire for a regular Nintendo controller. And so just like that, the fad went away and it died off. Now, like a lot of things that fail, they later become pop culture icons, and the Power Glove certainly has become one of those. You see it from time to time in TV shows and in movies. And just a couple years ago, there was a documentary about its creation called The Power of Glove. I highly recommend you watch that. You can catch it on Amazon. So I've been thinking about how to get this connected to the Nintendo Switch. And I tried it out a couple years ago and I couldn't figure it out and I abandoned it. And now I've come back to it again. And I don't want to just play any old game on the Switch. I want to do Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, because then we can actually control a physical object throughout the house with the Power Glove. So let's see how I accomplish this and some of the challenges that I had. Okay, so the first step is to get a Nintendo controller to USB adapter. This one here is from Retro USB, and it's the only one I know of that works with the Power Glove. Oddly enough, it's barely a footnote on the company's website that it works with the Power Glove. Now what this does is turn your Nintendo controller into a generic USB HID game controller. So you can plug it into a Mac, a PC running Windows, or a PC running Linux, and it just works, no drivers needed. Now I have a couple of irritations with Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, and the first one is that you can only steer with the stick. Whereas like in Mario Kart 8, and I think some of the others, you can use either the stick or the D-pad. And I assume this adapter would take a Nintendo controller and make it a D-pad over USB. Fortunately, it does not. It makes it a stick. So it's a digital stick. If you plug in the old 80s Nintendo controller this, it is a digital stick. It's 0 to 100 in 8 directions, but it is a stick. So that problem was averted. The next problem we're going to have is that the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation and Xbox, they don't work with generic USB controllers. They only work with their own controllers over USB or third parties they've licensed to. So we're going to need another adapter. Now when I was trying to figure this out a couple years ago, I tried Mayflash and some other ones, and I couldn't get it to work with this adapter. It seems like they're only designed to work with the big 3 game companies. So if you want to use a Sony controller, an Xbox, or a Nintendo controller and Sony, things like that. So since then, I found out about another one. This is called the Titan one. There's also a Titan 2 out now, but it's almost impossible to find. I think I paid $55 for this on Amazon. And it will do the big 3 as well, but it also does the USB generic game pads, and then you can tell it to output to as a Switch Pro controller or a PS5 controller or whatever you want. Another cool thing is that it has 9 memory compartments on here where you can store remappings and scripts for auto firing and all kinds of crazy stuff, and you can just cycle through them with this button. So why don't we plug this in and see how all of this works with the Power Glove on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, so I have the Power Glove plugged into the Nintendo Switch through all of the adapters. I'm in the stick calibration tool inside the system settings, and it wants us to move the stick to enter the test. So let's do that now. And I'm going to recenter. And to my great surprise, we get an analog stick, not a digital stick like the NES controller is, through this adapter. So that was a big surprise. Let's try it out on something else. Okay, so this is Pokemon Arceus, and as you can see, I can walk forward, and I can walk down, and I can walk to the right, and if I move it further, he'll start running. We have analog control there. Same with the left, walking, and further, he'll start running. Okay, so let's talk about some of the problems. First of all, the Power Glove has like 10 different settings, 10 different programs that you can input into it, and it will change the way the glove works depending on the type of game you're playing. Unfortunately, with this adapter, none of those programs work, only the default one. I don't know why, it could be by design, but I'm okay with that because the default program works the way you would expect. Up, down, left, right, thumb for the A button, ring finger for the B button. The problem is that this adapter maps the fingers as sliders. Now, I didn't even know what that meant. I had to look that up. But apparently they're just sliders on high-end joysticks that I think are used with flight simulator software. Most of the software I would plug it into on a computer wouldn't even recognize it. On the Mac, I was able to recognize them as sliders on USB overdrive. On Windows 10, the built-in diagnostic calibration tool would see them as sliders. The Dolphin emulator, which emulates GameCube and Wii games, it would see them as a full axis, and I could remap them. I was even able to play Metroid Prime and jump and fire and such with it. But almost everything else I set it at, either in Windows or on the Mac OS, wouldn't even detect them. And most importantly here, the Titan 1 software doesn't detect them. It has its own device monitor program where you go in and that's where you do your remapping or learn what buttons or what they're called to remap them. It doesn't detect sliders. I went into the Titan forums and the Titan Discord and got crickets. Nobody knew what I was talking about or knew what sliders were. So that's a problem because right now we can just move with the Power Glove. And then I remembered, well, wait a minute, Mario Kart 8 has this feature called Auto Accelerate where you don't have to press down the A to make your cart go. And I thought, well, we'll just do that. Now here comes my second irritation with Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. It doesn't have Auto Accelerate. It does have the Auto Assist, which drives for you, but it doesn't have the Auto Accelerate, which presses the A to give it gas. So I was like, wow, I didn't want to hold down the A button off the pad while I'm steering. So I went back to the Titan software and I wrote a script where if I punch the A button, it just stays down the entire time unless I press it again. So that will at least take care of the acceleration for us. So let's get the cart out and see what it looks like with the Power Glove. Okay, so when you first turn on the Mario Kart Live Home Circuit game, you have this kind of open world demo mode, and that's what I'm going to show you here. It's a little less noisy than the game, and with the latency of the Power Glove and having to reach over to hit buttons to do attacks, it's probably just not worth it to try and pull this off at all with the gates. So I'm just going to go ahead and run around my basement a couple of times and show you how it looks. So I'll hit the A button like we talked about. It's going to auto accelerate now. Go over by the Tron game, take a hard left, over into the workout room, another hard left, and we'll go under the pinball games. Cut back over. Let's go another round. Back over by the skee ball and the Tron. Whoa. Back under the pinball games. And we'll just crash it right into me. Boom. Okay, so at least partially successful. We were able to connect the Power Glove to the Nintendo Switch and drive the Mario Kart around. However, without being able to remap the fingers, it's very limiting in what we can actually do. I'm going to continue to pursue a method to actually map those fingers, but until then, in the comments down below, tell me what other devices you'd like to see me attach the Power Glove to. I will also run a poll on this question on my Twitter account, which you can follow me @BasicInteger. As always, if you're enjoying these videos, I hope you'll like and subscribe, but that's all for now. Take care.